What's going on, everyone? Welcome to VV Investments. I appreciate you tuning in. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing what happened at the most recent Decon Anaheim. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. So if you guys enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys want to see in future episodes. And without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So let's kick it off with the two major announcements that's happened. Two more partnerships in the bag. First one's going to be Lamborghini. Now, I'm a car guy myself, so I am super pleased and super surprised with this one. But whoever they hired to unveil this should have practiced the curtain unveiling a little bit better. But other than that, Dan and David hopped out of the car, and sure enough, it's in the bag. So I think it was Alex that was saying we should be expecting the first drop, which they're starting with the Huracan within the next few months. So keep an eye out for that. And next up, we have BANKSY. So BANKSY was actually being teased by David for a little bit now. It was actually confirmed and announced at Decon, and the crowd seemed very pleased with this announcement. Now, I do actually have a lot of questions around this license, because for those who are not familiar with BANKSY, BANKSY is arguably the biggest artist in the world, but his identity is unknown. His art is highly sought after worldwide. In fact, there's many instances where his graffiti will pop up, and the city will actually come and cut the wall piece out. Now, his graffiti has popped up all over the world, from subways in New York City, to the massive wall in Palestine, to his most recent ones in Ukraine, actually. BANKSY is known for his anti-authoritarian stance, which is depicted in a lot of his art. Now, the biggest question I actually have around this license is, how did they get this license? Is this license with BANKSY himself, meaning do they know the identity of BANKSY? Or is this a signed license agreement with a representative or a third party? And the reason I bring this up is because BANKSY is known for not wanting to publicly sell his art. There's the famous incident where his art piece shredded moments after it sold in auction. Now, speaking of this, I did actually come across a post on Twitter the other day from No Way SRX, and he was actually talking about how VEVE didn't get BANKSY on the app. He said yesterday that VEVE announced the VEVE fam was getting BANKSY on the app, but unfortunately, after doing more research, I found out that it's not the case. VEVE partnered with Metacom and Brandalism. They're doing statues inspired by BANKSY in the real world and soon in VEVE. Brandalism belongs to the Full Color Black Company. The company uses BANKSY art and other merchandise such as books and statues. Does BANKSY agree? And then he says he does not, because the European laws protect Full Color Black, the company. As they say, we only use graffiti art made in public places. It belongs to everyone. Therefore, even though BANKSY is trying hard to shut them down, he cannot. So this is interesting, because then he goes on to talk about the guest situation, and this is something I actually just tweeted out moments before I started creating this video. BANKSY called out Guess because Guess apparently used his artwork without his permission. Now, apparently, the art that Guess used actually came from Brandalism. So BANKSY ended up getting mad. He ended up telling people to go shoplift at Guess, and they ended up having to shut the store down right after he put that post out. So of course, BANKSY on the VEVE app would be an amazing thing. It will be, but I would really like the team to clear this up. How did they get the license, and who did they sign the license with? But two big partnerships announced there. Next, we also got announced a play-to-earn game coming called Tengoku, and this is going to be a game where you can play to earn OMI tokens. So this game actually looks very cool. It actually reminds me of a lot of games that I used to play when I was a little kid, and I have a feeling that I'm going to be sitting down and playing this every single night for a little bit. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. Not sure exactly when this one's dropping, but I know it is dropping next year. And then we also saw display screens over at the VEVE booth. So this is something the community has been waiting for. I have been waiting for this for a very long time. And David did confirm that these are going to be screens where you can import your NFTs from the VEVE app onto the screen. Now, my biggest question about it is, can you import more than one, or do you have to have one screen per NFT that you import? But nevertheless, the fact that they actually already have this in the works is very cool, because I know last Decon he was actually asked about this, and he actually confirmed that there was no one that they were working with, and that they were actually looking for companies to help them with this. So within that time period, they found a company, and they've actually, made it happen. So that's definitely a green light in my eyes. I do think David actually did also mention that they are going to be providing one of these for each one of one art pieces that are sold on the app as well. So whoever wins that auction will get a physical frame in addition to the digital one that they get on the app. Now let's head into some of the slides that they went over before unveiling the VEVEVERSE. So the first one that they went over were the technical capabilities of the platform. So first point, multiple device support, game engine agnostic. So for those who don't know what that means, it means that this platform is cross-compatible with multiple different game engines. So Unity and Unreal Engine being the biggest ones in the world. Dan did confirm at Anaheim that the VEVEVERSE has been built within both Unity and Unreal Engine. So you can choose to enter via either one. We're going to have cloud streaming, multi-user and social capabilities, persistent world avatars. I saw somebody post on Twitter, I can't remember who it was, but shout out to you, I'll put it on screen now. The fact that VV avatars have legs before metas. And that's actually funny. I didn't even know meta didn't have legs, but that's definitely something to remember for the history books, which is funny. So next point, level of access / permissions. So being able to toggle on and off what certain people are allowed to do within your space. So whether they can access the home, whether they can build in your house, etc., etc. Seamless AR VR experience. So this was something that surprised a lot of the community, was that the live VEVEVERSE demo was actually done with VR. So the fact that this is integrated already is a very, very good sign. And I did see Cavell put out a video the other day talking about, you know, them having a lot of the hard stuff already completed. I think that this is a perfect example of that. Next, scripting language. Okay, so this one is a big one for me. There's a certain type of person that I think is going to understand what this is, and then a certain type of person, well, this will just go right over your head. Scripting language will take customization to a whole other level. It actually has me thinking above and beyond, you know, what I thought was previously going to be possible with the VEVEVERSE. But what this is going to allow people to do is essentially create entirely new games, game modes, things that, you know, are really only limited by your imagination within the VEVEVERSE. So I actually have something to compare this to, and I know it's going to catch a lot of people off guard. So I do want to put a disclaimer here saying that I'm not talking about, you know, graphics capabilities or anything of that sort. This is a game that's been developed by a full gaming studio. They have decades of experience on VV, but the thing I want to focus on here is the scripting language itself. So the game I'm actually going to talk about here for a sec is Halo. So for those familiar with the franchise, you guys are going to know that they have something called a Forge mode. For those who aren't familiar with Halo, what Forge is it allows their in-game users to essentially create their own maps and then be able to play on those maps with their friends and things like that. Now, their Forge mode has been available in many previous iterations of their games, but their most recent iteration of Halo, called Halo Infinite, has been released for multiple years now, but without a Forge mode. They actually just updated the game and provided a Forge mode several weeks ago. Now, their newest Forge mode is leaps and bounds ahead of anything that has been released in the past. And the reason why is because previous iterations of Forge have pretty much just been, you know, map builders, right? Provides windows, building blocks, things like that for users to create their maps. In this version, they've essentially provided their users with a mini game engine, almost like a small dev kit. And the possibilities are endless. I mean, it's pretty much just limited to your imagination. And they actually have a scripting language feature as part of their Forge mode. So this has actually allowed creators to create entirely new games, new game modes, and things that the game developers themselves didn't even release with the base game. So I can only talk about this so much. What I want to actually do is hop into Halo right now, and I want to show you guys a custom game and break down exactly how they customize this to show you guys the possibilities of what scripting language provides for creators. All right, so I've opened a custom game and I really want to show you guys, you know, the potential of what scripting language provides. So for anyone who knows Halo, you know, you're going to pick up on a lot of this stuff yourself, but let me walk through, you know, some of the exact customizations that this creator has done. So the first one is the way the gun shoots. Okay, so the way the person has scripted this game is in a way so that when I shoot, it actually shoots a green bullet. This is not the standard bullet for this gun. This green bullet is actually the bullet for another weapon in the game called the plasma pistol, which you see in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen. So they have completely altered the way the gun shoots, which is obviously much different from the way the base game operates. Now, if you guys hear closely, this is also a burst weapon, but the way that the gun is shooting, there's only one bullet coming out of the gun. So this is another example of how the creator has scripted this game. Now, another one is I can't jump at all. I am stuck to the floor. This game mode is called paintball. So that's what this map is. It's a paintball map. And I cannot jump at all. And one bullet, or paintball, I guess in this case, will drop the opponent. So in addition to all the aesthetics, right, like the brick walls and the plants and shrubbery and, you know, even all of this stuff, which is part of what he's put into this game, scripting language has allowed this creator to alter the base mechanics of even how the guns operate. So when we're talking about being able to race a DeLorean around, right, think about the first race for Ready Player One, all the stuff that's happening in that race. Now imagine being able to script all that. If you know how to, you can create it. That's the thing, is that all of this is limited to your own imagination, right? So being able to script out the race for your DeLorean, how many people you want in the race, a certain explosion that happens here or something that drops over there, you can do it all, right? So scripting takes customization to a whole other level. And obviously you got to have some coding experience and things like that in order to know how to, you know, take advantage of stuff like that. But people being able to create entire games within the VEVEVERSE will all be possible through something like this. And then we got particle system support and LOD support. I don't know much about either one of those points, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. Multi-user capabilities. So we got friends lists. We're going to be able to invite friends. We have different communication tools from audio to visuals. We got stream boards and whiteboards. So those were also displayed during the VEVEVERSE presentation. The whiteboards are also interactive with others in the space, so people can draw on yours. We're going to have different text and drawing tools. We're going to have user panels that show who's inside of the world. So Dan used the example of being able to put this, you know, outside your house so that as soon as you walk out, you know who's in the world. We're going to have text and image notes, sharing, avatars, and then the ability to follow other users, just like on the VV app. Next, they talked about different types of content with inside the VEVEVERSE. So right now we're going to have the 3 different categories that are on VV: collectibles, artworks, and comics. Then we're also going to see accessories. So we saw some of these in Dan's space with the plants, the furniture, the lighting, that type of stuff. We're going to have non-VV NFTs. So this one's huge because talk about interoperability, VV's doing it the other way. So, you know, we're going to be able to have NFTs from OpenSea over inside of the VEVEVERSE. We saw examples with Fish, right, in Dan's space as well, which are OpenSea NFTs. And then another major point here, crowdsourced content. So people and artists on the platform are going to be able to submit 3D content, and then they can mint and sell that 3D content as NFTs. Okay, so this is absolutely huge. From a bigger picture, this is how I look at it. I think of this as a very similar approach to YouTube and Amazon. Okay, so when somebody creates a channel and posts a video on YouTube, they are creating content for YouTube. It's the same thing with a seller on Amazon. When they post a product on Amazon, they are creating content for Amazon. When somebody on VV submits 3D content and then uploads that as an NFT, they are creating content for VV. So this can, and I think it's going to be absolutely huge. 3D designers, artists, right? Creating furniture, different types of things that people can put inside of their home. Now that's got me thinking of Sandbox. Sandbox has something similar where you can create pieces for their world and then you can sell them to other users. So in addition to the scripting capabilities, this would be another point that I would say do not underestimate. And then the last slide they talked about was their, I guess, 2023 rollout. Now there is something I'm a little disappointed with here, and it's the fact that they gave a timeline. Same with the OUP portal roadmap. I saw Reese come out and say that all that stuff should be done within a 12-month period. I don't think he should have said that, and the reason why is just speaking from past experience. There's now been this expectation set in the community that all this stuff will be done within a year, and at the end of the day, none of us, including Reese and the team, know what's going to be happening within this year. They can set goals, they can plan this all out, but I mean, and I'm not trying to get political here, but I do have to use this as an example because I am still a little surprised that not enough people are talking about this. But China could go after Taiwan tomorrow, and that would be a complete and utter repeat of Russia-Ukraine. I say that because we have to be realistic. I would absolutely love for all of this stuff to be done within a year and for this stuff to roll out during these quarters. But at the same time, judging from past experience, they give us a timeline. It's always weeks or months after. So I'm personally pushing everything that you guys see on screen back 3 to 6 months. That's just me. I hope they roll out when they do. But again, I want to be realistic. So phase 1, they're talking about VEVE home space and accessories. So what was revealed in the VEVEVERSE presentation. During phase 2, they want to release different IP branded worlds. So VEVE City, I'm assuming a Marvel City, Disneyland, those types of IP. Now, we all know, and I don't think you can even really argue this, VEVE is king when it comes to IP. And when you look at a virtual space like Sandbox, right? And you look at their map of all their land, and you see big plots of land that have been bought up by Snoop Dogg and Ubisoft and all these other brands, this point suggests that something similar is going to happen. But like I just said, VEVE is king when it comes to IP. So we're going to see things like Disney and Marvel and all these other huge brands within the VEVEVERSE. I think this is going to be amazing, and I think it's going to draw a lot of eyes to the platform. In phase 3, they want to roll out customizable avatars. So I'm not 100% sure if they mean customizable in the sense that you can change the clothes and things like that on the avatars they provide you, or if they're talking about being able to customize your avatar with certain NFTs from the VEVE app. So, you know, Superman, Spider-Man, those types of things. And then during phase 4, they're looking at rolling out gamification. So going back, talking about the DeLorean being able to race and, you know, earn rewards and things like that. It'd be that type of stuff. But more importantly, added utility to our pieces. Now, in terms of the actual presentation that was done for the VEVEVERSE, Dan walked us through his personal space, showing us exactly what it looks like and what we can expect. Here are my thoughts. Aesthetically, I'm very pleased, understanding that this is stage 1 of the VEVEVERSE. It's only going to get better from here. I think the space itself is actually quite unique. It's much bigger than I actually expected. You have a lot of space to work with here, and you can actually augment your entire home space into AR. So just like you can with an NFT on the VEVE app, Dan's entire house can be augmented into reality. Now, I was also very pleased to see examples of accessories and other NFTs in the space as well. So we saw some fish floating around, and then you guys can see the plants in the background and the lighting. The lighting is actually another thing that really caught my attention. I think it actually adds a lot to the pieces and makes them look even better. I already have an idea of just making like a dark room for my golden moments, putting them all on pedestals and then just putting a spotlight above each one of them. I have a feeling they'd look so good with the reflection and everything like that. But speaking of that, I did notice that in this presentation, there were none of those types of NFTs. There were no big collectibles or big brands. The biggest one that I saw was the DC battle statue. But other than that, a lot of it was the smaller, you know, decon artists and things like that. I'm sure this is completely intentional. I'm not sure why. Maybe they just don't want to spoil, you know, what these pieces look like for us. But nevertheless, the pieces that we did see within this presentation still look really good. And speaking of lighting, that DC battle statue with the spotlight from the bottom pointing up to it made it look so cool. We did also see a little material switcher. So Dan had walked up and started clicking buttons on it, and it was changing the wallpaper and floors to random textures. Dan did also mention that you are able to pause animated NFTs as well. So if they're in the middle of their animation, you can pause them at a certain section to display them in that position. I think that's actually really cool as well. So we're going to see animated NFTs paused in poses that we've never seen before. And last but not least, before we round off this video, I did make sure to pause the different frames when Dan was actually going through his inventory and searching for lights. So let's walk through some of those frames to take a look at what we're going to see in the VEVEVERSE. All right, so this was the first one. The very first item in inventory says Shrinker. So I have no idea what that is. There's no image attached to it. We got one of Dan's pieces, VEVE Home interior piece. I'm not exactly sure what that is. We got a swirling portal, a swirl halo, sparkles halo, sparkler halo. I have no idea what any of that stuff is. Rainbow, rain, something. We got a rain halo, a portal spawn. That's interesting. Is that like a teleporter? Portal oval halo? I think that says halo. The quality isn't the best here, guys. Apologies for that. Pixie dust halo and pixie dust wand, maybe? I'm not sure exactly what that is. Then these are interesting. These look like guns to me. Ground fog halo, glowing particle something, Fluffy Snow Halo, and Flamethrower. So right now I'm making the assumption that these are guns that shoot each one of those things. Fog, glowing particles, snow, and flames. I don't know, but that's definitely interesting. Then we have a Fire Halo, Atmospheric something, Material Switch. Oh, okay, so this is what was on the wall that Dan was switching. The materials for the, you know, floors and wallpapers and things like that. Okay, so Atmospheric. Maybe that changes gravity levels? I have no idea. That's interesting. DB5 animated, Mickey, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man. So those are Dan's NFTs. Then we have a swirling portal, glowing part, same thing. So it looks like he has duplicates of some accessories. Another one of the art pieces, the Vice Lord, James Bond, all of his lightsabers. Auditorium light. Another glowing particle something. Spotlight, another light. Directional light, another light. One of his NFTs. These look like building blocks. Cylinder in the cube. And then he's got his skateboards. And then he was looking for a specific light, so he typed in light. Lightsabers popped up. I've got the auditorium light, spotlight. We went over those, blah, 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 blah. New shelf with, I'm assuming, some sort of light attached. And then we got what looks like cube lights on different types of pedestals. In fact, I actually think we saw those outside Dan's house. They were illuminating the pathway. But like I said before, I'm actually very excited about the lighting system here. Not only does it make the space look better, but I think it makes the pieces look better as well. So I'm excited for that. A bit of a longer video for today, but I do want to round it off, guys, with one point. And that is, there is one thing that I want to discuss about the VEVEVERSE presentation that did disappoint me. And it was the presentation itself. So some are going to disagree with me when I say this, some are going to agree, but as an investor who's been waiting for the VEVEVERSE for multiple years now at this point, I think of a moment like this as something like Steve Jobs on the main stage unveiling the iPhone. Now some are going to say that's whack, but at the end of the day, guys, this is something that the community has been waiting for a very long time. And the presentation itself was very, very choppy. And to me, it almost looked like it was the first time Dan had ever, you know, presented the VEVEVERSE. This is me being brutally honest, and it's just constructive criticism at the end of the day. But for future events and future unveils, I really, really hope the team practices their presentation much more. I understand I'm being very critical here, but from a business standpoint, moments like this where you're unveiling something that your audience has been waiting for, you know, you can say a couple years at least at this point, it shouldn't be something that you just wing. And from my perspective, that's exactly what it looked like. I'm not trying to shade Dan. I'm not trying to shade the company. At the end of the day, the VEVEVERSE unveil was still successful, but I do think the presentation itself could have been much, much better. Now that is going to conclude today's episode, guys. Bit of a longer one for you, but if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys want to see in future episodes. And as for our next one, I'll catch you then.
What a total bonehead.